Okay. And let me share my screen. And what's that? There we are. Hold on. Where is it? Okay. So we should be live. There we are. And we are after 6 o'clock. I have 8 people in attendance. And we have a quorum. We have actually all commissioners here. Krista, I don't know if you can speak still, but
can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good. Awesome. Fantastic. So it looks like we're good to go. Jennifer, whenever you'd like to kick us off.
All righty. So the December 2022 meeting for the Board of Directors of the South Whidbey Parks and Recreation District is called to order at 6:03 p.m. Is there anyone for public comment?
We did not receive any requests to log into the meeting, nor did I receive any written comment from anyone.
All righty. Has every commissioner had an opportunity to review the minutes from the November meeting?
Yes.
Are there any questions or changes?
No.
All right, I will entertain a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the October meeting.
I will second that motion.
November meeting, excuse me.
I'll still second that motion.
Bump. All right, it has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the November meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Jake, aye.
Krista, aye.
Matt, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion carries and the minutes are approved. Matt, would you lead us through the treasurer's report, please?
Yes. Okay, so summary slide again. 11 months and counting, and you can see we've slightly narrowed the gap on favorability. We're at 130K favorable net through the month of November. And you can see same comments from last month. We're still trying to execute in those 2 big categories that we'll talk about in the expenses slide. And we are reserving some money for this in this category of program refunds for youth basketball. In the end, we'll net out to 0 as we do, and the transfers will be, or the movements will be made in cash balance and fund balances that we'll talk about on the last slide. Next slide. So there's the revenue picture. So slightly unfavorable to budget. We remain about there, 20,000, 21,000 roughly this month. Net overall, you can see the driving force there is the campground that was forecast to be open, but it's not open. So we are not generating the revenue that we forecast from the campground in this 4th quarter. Next slide is expenses. Again, you can see our favorability there is still high. It's come down off of that peak, but still 150,000 favorable. And you can see the 2 big categories are maintenance, where we're 66K under executed, and capital projects, it's now down to 43K. So we're spending as we had or as we need to close again the gap that we had forecast or that we had not forecast. Sorry. Same story on the expenses from the campground. Since we're not open generating revenue, we also don't have any significant expenses there. Next slide. And then fund balance, you can see on plan, and you know, those year-end activities will happen this month to prepare us for the fund balance transfers that'll be executed in January. And then we'll institute as we talked about, the additional view in the individual fund and expense categories in our January reporting, or with our January January 2023 data. So one more month like this, and then we'll add that file to look forward in 2023. Any questions on the report before we look at the vouchers? Okay, Doug, can you pull up the vouchers?
Okay, so vouchers. Since we sent them out on Friday, we've done a payroll. So you can see there's some janitorial supplies that we purchased, some paper, some towels, some toilet paper, other things there. Department of Revenues is retirement contributions. You can see we got some marketing materials. We paid for conference registration for WYRPA conference for the director for this coming year. We've transferred money for the Future Falcons Saturday Hoops basketballs events to the Booster Club, which is what we had arranged to do with them. Our Regents Blue Shield payments for the month, reimbursement on mileage for Carrie, and then we've got Georgia Edwards for dog nosework construction for November and December, dental insurance, tractor mower parts and repair there. Productions is a timing agreement for the triathlon for next year. So basically to reserve our spot. Landscaping materials from Baby Farm and Garden. We got some crushed rock from All Whidbey Topsoil. And monthly payroll for this month, which includes the sick leave payout for those employees that were eligible for the sick leave payout had reached their threshold. So those are the changes. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Who's Kathleen Handren?
Kathleen Handren's one of the closers. She comes and closes the park for us after hours.
Got it. Thank you.
If there are no other questions, I'll make a motion to approve the voucher listing for the M&O fund. The total amount is $160,780.78.
I'll second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the voucher list in the amount of $160,780.78. All those in favor say aye.
Jake, aye.
Krista, I.
Matt, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it and the voucher list is approved. Moving on to the staff report, please, Doug.
Yes, so upcoming on January 1st, we have the Polar Bear Plunge, and then indoor pickleball is going to resume on the 3rd. Also got adult drop-in volleyball and futsal coming up, Puppy Foundation, junior cheer, youth basketball practices, and skills assessments will begin the 10th of January. And K9 Nosework on January 22nd. So we did have some good news. We've negotiated a $2,000 flat monthly fee for the use of the multipurpose room gym at the South Whidbey Community Center for January to March. We are the only organization that they are currently renting out to until construction finishes on the main gym. It's more cost effective to rent the facility outright for these 3 months. It was previously $150 per month weekly, per weekly 2.5 hour session, 2 hours of programming, 30 minutes total of setup and breakdown. This averaged out to a fee of $13.87 an hour. Was used for non-monthly weekly programs. Invoices were sent from South Whidbey School District and are paid to South Whidbey School District. Once youth basketball is in full swing, we'll be offering the following program right down there below: pickleball, 14 sessions a week; adult volleyball, 2 sessions a week; futsal, 1 session a week; youth basketball, 20 hours a week. Rental fees for that, based on the previous rate, would be about $10,000, just over 10 grand. Rental fees on the new rate are about 6 grand, so we're saving about $4,000 by doing it that way. With the lower rental fees, we'll also begin to offer monthly drop-in passes for pickleball and volleyball. Fees will be as follows: $40 a month for a $6 drop-in fee. For pickleball, $25 for volleyball a month, or a $5 drop-in fee. For futsal, $49 a month or for 3 months, or $49 for 3 months. Youth basketball registration is now open as of the 15th of December. There were 48 registered for 1st to 4th grade. Early registration deadline was the December 18th. Last day to register is January 6th. No clear timeline for the completion of the main gym to plan for 5th to 6th grade basketball. So right now we're just sitting where we're at. We restructured the agreement with 4-H for the polar bear dive. The event is a $10 fee, and registrants can separately order apparel through a website created for the event by Savage Screen Printing. So it's kind of streamlining that for us, where we don't have to deal with the t-shirts. They can order whatever they want through Savage, which is nice. Facilities and grounds. We have a new employee, Chance Caldwell. He started on, I believe it was December 16th. It was going to be December 16th. And then his previous employer, when he walked in to give his 2 weeks notice, said, "You're done now." So he called us back and we said, "You're starting now." So we got him on board. He is picked right up and is working on his training, and everything seems to be going well. With three the maintenance staff back out there, they were able to finish up the storm cleanup at Trustland and additionally put fresh gravel in the ADA loops. They've also re-graveled a majority of the community park trails and are waiting for additional material to finish everything up. Slowly getting back to trail construction opportunities at Max Walton Trails, and we'll chip away on that project as time and weather allows. The holidays will limit things for a couple of weeks. Still hopefully get the Trustland Equestrian Bypass started in the new year. Most of the stuff I have to talk about are in the regular agenda. We had an additional meeting, joint pool committee meeting for yesterday, to finalize contract details. Reached out for phone calls to all the tribes with claims on community park site for the aquatic center project to make sure they had every opportunity to comment. I have received at this point no comments, no concerns. ARC ran the LEEDS checklist to confirm whether an aquatic center project had the possibility of reaching LEED silver status. I'm scheduling a meeting with Paul tomorrow to kind of walk through that with him and walk through our response to that to get the funds released. Septic site registration for the campground was finished and is in the county's hands, and I'm working with Davido on to get the redesign of the septic approved with the county and hopefully complete the site plan review. I have a meeting now scheduled not officially scheduled, but I'm connected with our new planner at the county on that project. And we have a meeting on Wednesday next week that we will sit down and go through all of this. Want to be able to move forward. Meeting with the Trails Committee to look at the signage for the entry to Max Walton Trails Park now that trail has been initially roughed in. I met with Pat McVeigh to look at the sign design and placement. He was going to email me a kind of sketch of thoughts that he had. One of the graphics he thought about was maybe a couple walking with a dog on leash in front of them, pulling them along as one of the sign, and then just some other animals and trees around it. But similar, a little smaller than the sign across the street at Community Park entrance, but similar in design. At the trails meeting, we walked the trail, and there was some standing water on the trail near the culvert we installed, that Tom and his crew installed. Tom did talk to the school district, and he created a small ditch to increase drainage from that area to keep the water level down year round. We will keep an eye on that. And if we have to build up the trail or put in I don't know if putting in a second culvert will do anything, because there's nowhere for the water to go. So we might either have to build up the trail or do something differently there. So that's something just going to keep a watch on. Our regular board meeting is tonight, and based on the calendar that you guys will be approving, our January board meeting and annual meeting will be on January 18th. I will take any questions that anyone has on the staff report.
So I was out on the Trustland Trails this weekend, And huge shout out to Tom and Austin and Chance. The ADA loops just look absolutely wonderful with the new gravel spread, and there was no standing water anywhere.
Awesome.
Great.
Perfect. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Congratulations.
Congratulations on maybe getting a meeting with the county next week for the campground. That's pretty awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So is your meeting with Mary or with a specific planner?
It is with our planner and his director, and we're trying to get everything arranged. It was touch and go for a while, where I was actually literally stopping at the county on my way down pretty much every other day coming into work, knocking on the door going, "Where's Brent? I need to speak to Brent." And they'd offer me somebody else, and I went, "No, Brent is my planner. That's who I need to speak to. I need to schedule a meeting with Brent. Here's my card." And then I'd get into the office and I'd email. And then later in the day, I'd phone. And then I'd wait. And I wouldn't get anything back. So finally today, he emailed me, and we're moving forward on that. So we're hopefully getting that meeting done, and then we'll identify. He did bring up in one of his initial emails a code that says that a campground has to be a minimum of 5 acres and can only be a maximum of 10 acres. But the way I read the code, that code refers only to rural forest, rural agriculture, and a couple other rural zones. It does not refer to the parks zone, which is what our property is zoned. So that's my argument as to why that's not been brought up before. But we have not yet sat down and worked through that yet. But that is what my discussion with him would be is South Whidbey State Park is way more than 10 acres. So is Deception Pass State Park. This is not out of the realm of the norm. This is what we should be doing. No one's brought it up because it doesn't apply. So we'll see where that goes, but that's the newest thing. And if we can get past that and we've got the site registration redone, we should be good to start moving ahead. But more on that in the regular agenda as well.
What's Brent's last name?
Brent Ryan. Brent Ryan. He's the man with 2 first names.
And Doug, is that hopeful meeting next Wednesday that will be at the park, at Community Park?
No, that will be up at the county in the conference room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I will be meeting him at the county. He has not yet. He said he has to go reserve the conference room, and I'm fine with going to him because I want his boss to be there. I want to hear everything they have to say, and if we have to, dot another I or cross another T, I want to know exactly what it is and exactly where the finish line is. And, I've already reached out to Davido and made sure they're on board with finishing up the septic. And we'll roll right into comprehensive plan anyways. But the other thing that I've also started that I'm going to bring to you, hopefully on the January meeting, is working with Davido to design the water connection to the campground, because we will need to take that to the state to modify our water plan, our small water system management plan, and add that system in. They will need to see that prior to us building it. So I've got that coming for January.
Okay. And who's Brent's manager?
That I don't know. I'm going to find out. I believe, what was the gentleman's name that I spoke to? It wasn't Nick. It was, I've got his name in my email. I can shoot it to you later on.
Okay.
Because I copied him on an email that I sent Brent, the last email. Oddly enough, the one he responded to, is the one I copied his boss. When I finally decided I'm just going to copy your boss again, if I don't hear from you, calling him. So that's the guy that I'm hoping will be at the meeting with me and him, and hopefully we'll be able to talk through it all and get it done. Okay.
Thanks, Doug.
Yep.
All right. If there's no further comments or questions on the staff report, let's move into unfinished business with the comprehensive plan programs.
All right. So starting with the aquatic center, where we are right now, when I get into the office tomorrow, ARC sent us a letter. We had a meeting yesterday with Matt was unable to attend. He had a dental emergency. But we had a meeting with the Joint Aquatic Committee and ARC to just kind of walk through, what does ARC do with all of these phases? What are we paying you for that's worth I think it was almost $650,000, and they kind of itemized everything. And I think the committee told me, the three that were able to attend told me that they were comfortable with moving forward. Good to go. Our contract right now, I have heard initial responses back on the contract from Endurus, our risk management agency, as well as Pacifica, our attorney, giving me kind of feedback on what's in the contract, some changes, some restructuring of it, and just kind of getting things set up moving forward. I have kind of played the ping pong game with them because risk management had some suggestions that I then copied and put back to the attorney. So I'm waiting to hear back on that. ARC did send us an initial kind of letter of agreement kind of thing before the official contract. That can start us moving forward. So when I get into the office tomorrow, I will be signing that. I'll be printing that out, signing that, scanning that, and sending that to them so that we get confirmed and in. And the reason I want to get that done sooner rather than later is a lot of these firms will probably be shifting their rates up come January 1, and we want to get this locked in before we hit that point. So that's where the contract is. It's just some legal items that I'm looking at. Everything in the contract to me looked pretty good, other than just some legalese that we're working through. And then risk management had one concern on a amount of insurance that they're required to have to build a building that's $12 million. And if there's a fault with it, they're only holding $2 million in insurance for fixing it. Well, we're doing a $12 million building. So I asked kind of where we should be. And they suggested, you should push back a little bit on that and see if you can get that insurance up to 10 million, 8 million, somewhere around that area if you can get it. But this might just be a boilerplate that they just sent through. And if we say, hey, this is a $12 million building, you're only giving us insurance for $2 million worth of it based on your design and construction, we want that to be a little higher. So that's kind of where that negotiation currently is. And I have not yet sent that back to ARC. I want to get all the changes we want. I'm then going to send it back, but I'm going to sign that letter tomorrow when I get in the office. In addition to that, we're working on getting the funds released from the state. I have no responses from tribes. I will be meeting tomorrow, at some point tomorrow, with Paul at ARC to kind of walk through the leads letter to request a waiver of leads and kind of make sure that we're accurate in what we're saying. He did go through and run the leads checklist, and he said it is possible that we could do it. We could get LEED silver with this because we're building a whole new facility, whereas the group that we got the letter from was a remodel and redo of an older building, so they were kind of stuck in a footprint. He said it wouldn't be easy, but it could be done. So we're going to request the waiver of leads and then design the best we can to leads, because of just the cost of designing the leads is adds a significant amount to your project. So I'm meeting with Paul tomorrow on that. Once we have that, that's the last item I have to send in. The tribes have not commented. The 30-day period has passed. So then I will work with the gentleman's name is Keith Yates at the State Department of Finance. And I will work through anything else we need to do with him at that point to be able to access those funds. We should be good to go. Matt, Eric, any other comments on that whole process? Anything that you have that you wanted to add to that?
I would say the takeaway for me yesterday was ARC was extremely transparent, and they kept coming back and hands-on every part of the process. Because one of the big questions that came up was what exactly are they doing to earn that amount of money that we're doling out? And I thought they answered it really well, Doug. I thought their approach, and they went through and kind of itemized, this is what we do, and then they backed it up with examples of what they've done in the past, which for me as somebody new to the process was very helpful. But I thought they met all the criteria.
Good. Matt?
Yeah, and I'll just comment. Yeah, as Doug said, I wasn't able to attend this meeting, but I had reached out in the interim to the project manager for the Port Angeles project, who had gone through the same thing with ARC. And He confirmed that their numbers for us were in line with the numbers that they saw from them, and that they had held to those numbers through the project. And his other comment was that and you don't necessarily think of, at least I didn't think of these guys as, they're a project lead, they're the architect at the core of the project. But he said where they made their money was in the construction and commissioning phase, running that part of the project, taking full responsibility for all of the myriad tasks and management of all the moving parts in the project to actually get it done. And his quote was, "They earned every penny in that phase." So I had to say that that was a good vote of support from them, from someone who, this is in the last 5 years, has gone through from the beginning to the bitter end. And right now their facility is open 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week, and they're putting 1,000 people a day through it. So it works.
Okay, good. That's the Aquatic Wellness Center. Campground, like I said earlier, septic design is in its final stages. Site reg has been completed and is now in the county's hands. I have now scheduled a meeting with the planner at the county, and we'll be sitting down with them. I'm also working directly on getting a quote on design of the water system with Davido and getting that finished up and ready to roll. I'm hoping this will be the last of this, and we'll be able to really just kind of start hitting the ground running on getting bids and quotes put together on this, and getting the companies out to get this done. Because we are now just over 12 months before those grant funds. So we want to get we want to get this done as quickly as we possibly can now. So, trying to think of anything else with the campground. That's pretty much it. The only real question we had was the 10 acres versus the 10 acres versus 30 acres. And Brent and I will have a conversation on that next Wednesday. So that's where we're at. Any further questions on that? Okay, that's all I have for comprehensive plan programs.
Hang on, Doug. So in that conversation with Brent and his manager, I hope that the grant funds will be part of that conversation as well. That stop messing around with us.
Well, that's already been a part of my emails with Brent and with Brent's boss. So that has already been addressed. That we have gotten a final extension till next December. We need to get this done. You guys have got to start helping and stop hindering. And it's got to stop with this new guy comes on and we get assigned the new guy. And now I've got to deal with the new guy trying to find out what he can, find to make himself feel like he's doing his job right. So let's just finish up what we've got and move forward. But yes, it already has been part of my conversation. It will be part of my conversation with them. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Fields meeting. So update here. So Sky has been working with the youth soccer club, South Whidbey Soccer Club, to spread out their usage. They initially came back to us with some minor adjustments, just shifting a few teams to 4 o'clock and having other teams at 5 o'clock. We responded with kind of along what Krista was saying at the last meeting was, here's the access requirements. You want to use the fields. Here's what you need to do. We looked at parking. We looked at bathrooms. We looked at other usages going on. And we said, okay, maximum of 75 players from South Whidbey Soccer Club practicing on the fields at any given time. At least a 15-minute buffer during pickup, drop-up transition with the schedule. That and including there will be including the South Whidbey's high school players. There's about 170, 100 to 190 players coming and going on 5 o'clock on Monday to Thursday. So that doesn't work. So what we had kind of said is, if you put a 15-minute break in there, it's not going to stop all of that, but it's going to help. Expansion of days and times games are played. Saturday morning overflow spilled into areas that are not designated for parking. And additionally, we had septic alarms going off on Saturday mornings just from the total traffic at the facility. So expanding those games into Sundays. And we just kind of said, utilize a system where coaches are being assigned or choosing their practice times and locations, and then have each team's coach practice schedule passed along to us for approval and updating field schedules. That's a norm with youth sports. When I coached youth sports when my kids were growing up, it was like you went to a draft and you said, okay, we got there and everybody picked a number, 1 through 15 or 1 through 10 or 1 through 8, however many coaches there were. And you had, okay, there you get 2 practices a week. If you're number 1, you picked first, number 8 picked last. And then in the second practice, number 8 picked first and number 1 picked last. And we just went through and did it. And that was your practice time. So we talked to them also about ways that they can help accommodate these requirements. That sunset is until 7:30 on the day of the early practice, and will be near 8 when the U6, U8 practices begin in April. So they can spread out the times that the coaches can choose and use. They could utilize Fridays and Sundays. Field use on these days is most minimal for all users. So we're trying to get them to just expand. Looking at the 75, we looked at 75 because we looked at it and went, okay, so we've got 75 kids there. That means, and we've got about 30 from South Whidbey High School for whichever high school team is playing at that time. So that's a total of 105 people right there that are going to be in that park. And that, just without anybody else. There's 100 and, Sky, correct me here, 135, 125 or 135 parking spots up there.
It's 135 and 4 of those are disabled spots.
Okay, so 135 with 4 disabled. So you're looking at 131 that are actual parking spots. So we're allocating to the club about 55% of our parking, with 75 at one time. And then when you've got changeover, that means that there could be 150 cars leaving and coming right at that time. So we wanted to really address this because we also have 4 pickleball courts at that same time. So that's another 16 plus people waiting that could be there. There's people that come and walk their dogs. It can't monopolize all that park. So that's kind of the thought process there. We did get some pushback on that, and they've requested a meeting with Matt and Eric to attend that. So I think Sky was going to reach out and start to schedule that for sometime in January. So we're going to sit down with Sky and with Matt and kind of go through this, but we felt that this was reasonable and pretty well thought out, and that it was based on logic and thought process. So that's where we're at with that. Any questions? Got a thumbs up from Krista. Thank you, Krista.
All right, we shall move on to new business then.
Okay.
With the 2023 meeting schedule.
Okay, so we're looking ahead to next year. This is our meeting schedule proposed for 2023. And this has been vetted. Carrie actually created this. And I kind of went through and put this together, but she looked through for submitting vouchers to the county, when holidays were, that all these dates worked out. So this is, as we normally do it, the 3rd Wednesday of the month for every month, and it did work out that all of those dates ended up working out. So the board, we are requesting that the board approve this schedule so that we can meet on Wednesday, January 18th.
Any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I will move to make a motion to approve the proposed meeting dates for 2023.
And I will second that.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the board meeting calendar for 2023. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Jake, aye.
Krista, aye.
And I.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried and the calendar is approved. All right, moving on to the annual meeting.
So in January, we will have the annual meeting for the Board of Commissioners. The annual meeting is where the election of the officers occurs. So that would mean the chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer would be appointed by the board from within your ranks. Currently, chair is Jennifer, vice chair is Eric, secretary is Krista, treasurer is Matt, and the at-large member is Jake. You can keep those roles the same. You can change them. If somebody wants to do something different, that can happen. That's up to you, but that's something that you guys should think about. And this is just kind of a reminder that, get your heads together on, get your head around that. And if you want to, if everybody wants to do the same thing, you can do the same thing. If you want to have totally different shakeup, you can do that too. That's the board's discretion. And just before any discussion happens there, the other thing that we do at our January meeting is we review our committee assignments. And if there's any changes that we want to make there, we can do that as well. So I've included in this memo those committee assignments. If you want to talk about those, we can talk about those at that meeting. But what I would suggest is if you want to change something from what's on here, that you reach out to me, and then I can start a discussion with the two people who are on that committee, or try and figure out where we're going if you want to make a change on the committee assignments. So if you have any comments, feel free to make them. But it's really just a discussion item this month to prepare for next month.
Okay. I think we're done unless there's anything for good of the order.
That's all I have. So if there's anything else anybody would like to bring up, now would be the time.
All right. I did attend the Clinton Community Council meeting on Monday night. I'm going to wrap up this day the same way I started it, with the snowball chasing me down, and I'll be dipped if I know where those notes are at this moment. They're probably on my desk at Windermere. So my apologies. I will get those to Doug and he can send them out. They're getting better with their meetings though.
You survived it though.
I did indeed. One of my brokers, John Forbes, is their new at-large member. And so I said, John, can I sit next to you? And you can keep me in check so I don't roll my eyes and don't say anything snarky. And so he was really helpful.
Good.
Excellent.
Well,
Thank you for doing it.
When I get the notes, I will send those out to everybody. So Jennifer, when you get those to me, I'll just forward them on to everybody on the board so they can see them.
So it was a slim meeting, I will say, because it was snowing at that point, and so there were a lot of no-shows. But there's a new school district board member, Joe. Eric, do you know his name? Joe something.
Oh gosh, it'll come to me. I know him though. Yeah.
Anyway, he was there. He was absolutely wonderful. So look forward to working with him on the school board. So that's it. Oh, they are going for a bond. You probably already saw it in the paper. They are going for a bond in April. 80 million over 20 years.
So to be clear, and Eric sits on the bond committee for them as a representative from the teachers, I believe. So he is well aware of this, but that is not actually decided that they're going for that. They're exploring that opportunity and could be going for a bond. Is that a better way to put it? So it's not definitive yet. But yes, it's in the works.
Non-committal, Eric. Non-committal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have to be. The reason Doug's saying they have to be careful because there's a lot of there's a lot of parts to that that are moving and opinions on what needs to be done. So before they make that decision, I know that accurate information has to be dispensed,
Mhm.
and it hasn't. We haven't had time to do that yet.
So from what was put out by this board member whose name I'm totally spacing on, and what I read in the newspaper article was that it is a capital improvement bond, and that there hasn't been one in 25 to 30 years. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's part of the price tag on that. There's a lot of work to be done in South Whidbey School District, and there's a long history behind why that's got to this point. But that's part of why it has to be accurate information. And I'm definitely not going to speak to a lot of it because if that information gets out early, it'll sway the way people think about things.
Right. Totally. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one question? If you don't want to answer, that's fine. Don't say anything. But have there been bond attempts in the past that
Yes.
didn't make it to vote, or were not voted before?
Yeah, a lot of it was based around at the time the middle school closure was taking place. So it was very divisive in the community, and some of that divisiveness still exists. I like to think I've been on the last 3 bond committees, and I'm doing it for the reason that I want good things to happen to South Whidbey School District. So it's just really interesting, Jennifer, over time how this has evolved, and we're in a tough situation right now where you've got a lot of different opinions on what needs to be done to make the school district better, and meeting the needs and having accurate information, I think, is going to be one of the essential pieces of that. So an example would be a turf field. There's a lot of talk around a turf field. Okay, that's a big ticket item in the bond. Do people favor it? Do they not favor it? There's so much history on turf fields, as we know, because we're talking about it here in Park and Rec. And the turf field that existed 10, 15 years ago is completely different from the field that they'll put in today. So how do you get the voting public to become cognizant of that with alarms immediately going off? Like, wait a minute, well, you shouldn't have closed in the first place. You shouldn't build this because it's so expensive. Where are the priorities? So you can see the myriad of opinions that can develop if information gets out that this is the purpose behind it. So I'm not being vague. I know very well, and the company Integris that is working with us is a really good company. I mean, they're trying to get stakeholders, all the investment, everybody's opinion, but it's a quagmire. It's not an easy thing to sell. And even, your initial reaction, 80 million, like, oh, wait a minute, it's a lot of money. In terms of Park and Rec, I think it's going to be.
I wasn't so much put off by the dollar amount as that I was surprised that it had been that long without.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So, anything else? All right. So we will adjourn the board meeting at 6:45.
I just wanted to remind you guys to